What's up, guys? Mike Lucas filling in for David Nuño today. We finished the show. It's time for a little TexAgs rewind action. Big show. No Nuño in studio, but Nuño did join us with a rant on the NCAA Selection Committee after the Aggies were left out. The man, the myth, the legend, Billy Liucci, compares this snub to the 2020 College Football Playoff Committee snub. Coach Schloss joined the show. He talked about the Aggies' series win over Santa Clara and how they're getting ready for SEC action. And then Ross Bjork, Texas A&M's athletic director, breaking some news on the show. You don't want to miss that. It's all on the TexAgs rewind of episode 2717.
Kiddos, selection committee sucked, though. Their criteria to get into a tournament doesn't work. It's a sham. And you know how I know it's a sham? It's a sham when most people who hate Texas A&M, who don't spend their time trolling Texas A&M, I'm talking like the normal human beings, are saying we were robbed. I'm talking Arkansas fans. I'm talking even University of Texas fans that just don't love trolling others. Everybody knows A&M deserved a spot in that NCAA tournament. They don't get it. We weren't even in the next school. A&M wasn't even the next school, and I just find that to be ridiculous. To the committee, I guess the 8-game losing streak was too much, but it's supposed to be the body of work. That 8-game losing streak was a part of the season. And would they like it better if you lost 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and then 2, like 8 losses is 8 losses. And yes, it happened at one stretch. But what about what they did down the stretch? To me, it's the biggest travesty out of all. So what now? I'll tell you what now. Go win the freaking NIT. I said it last night with Logan. I'm going to say it again. Go pack Reed Arena on Tuesday night as they take on Alcorn State. Go run through the teams in the NIT as the overall number 1 seed, like you did against Auburn, like you did against Arkansas, like you did against Florida. Go win this thing, leave no doubt, and make sure you change the narrative when it comes to A&M basketball. Because I think we actually had a conversation on the show weeks back with Logan and Tap about even if they turn the ship, because we were kind of projecting what they could do. Not that anybody predicted that they would go on this kind of hot streak. But we did say if they were able to kind of right the ship a little bit, would the committee be able to forget the 8-game losing streak? And the answer to that is no. Yes, they look at these metrics and this and that, but how does Notre Dame get in? How does Wyoming get in? They're not better than A&M. A&M beat Notre Dame. Okay, and I understand that Notre Dame was having a nice season there in the ACC, but it to me, it's ridiculous. Give them the crowd that they deserve. As for the game itself yesterday, not a great performance from Texas A&M. A slow start. Tennessee was hitting their threes. A&M couldn't hit their threes. Played their hearts out. They just couldn't hit the shots. Tennessee gets to that 14-0 lead. And not that that's insurmountable, because A&M certainly had their chances getting it down to 6 a couple times. But they just didn't have the legs. They just didn't. They would never tell you that directly, but you could just see it. Their shots were hitting the top of the rim. It was just not a great performance by any stretch, especially early on. They played hard. I feel bad for Quentin Jackson. I feel bad for the entire roster, the young guys too, because you don't know how many times you're going to get this opportunity, and they weren't given the opportunity. There's a lot of things to digest from the weekend. Obviously, we can get into baseball winning 2 of 3 and whatnot.
What's up with the NCAA selection committees, and what do they have against Texas A&M?
I'm never that type of conspiracy theorist, Mike, but sometimes it makes you wonder. It really does. And I'm not wondering. I don't think they have anything against A&M, but it is like when you look at it, you go, and then both of them involve Notre Dame. But this time, my bigger issue, I've got a much bigger issue this time, Mike, than I did with the college football playoff. Because even though I disagreed with it, I understood what they were trying to say about Notre Dame and Ohio State in particular that season. And even though I say, okay, I disagree, and here's why. I understood like that they could come up with valid points, and I feel like, well, I could refute those valid points. In this one, I don't think there's any way that you could sit me down, and I just think this kind of crap came down to the net and these numbers that this committee, who to me, and I haven't dove in to really study who's a part of this committee yet, but to me they were either lazy and had so much of that field set, before the conference tournaments, or at least before like the Sunday games, which I'm not saying them lost to Tennessee, like before the Saturday games. Either they had so much of it set they just couldn't be bothered, or they just don't watch basketball, Lucas. And there's nothing that you can tell me when I look at Notre Dame's resume, and I've looked at that. And by resume, here's what I mean. I look at their schedule and who they beat and who they lost to, and their conference record and their last, not even their last 10 games, their conference record, who they beat and lost to. You just look at that, and watch basketball. Okay, so look at Wyoming and SMU and OU, who I guess were technically ahead of A&M. Wake Forest. You can go up and down on this thing. Xavier. There were so many, and I'm forgetting some, but even Indiana. I think, and Indiana and A&M to me were about equal. Indiana came in about 8 spots higher than A&M, it looks like. So Michigan's another one. I went through and looked. I looked at the schedule and results, and it was amazing to look and go, how is that better than what Texas A&M did? I just don't understand it. So then you go into it and you go, well, it's probably some kind of net. Their net ranking. Explain to me the net. You're on this committee, and why is that more important than watching basketball and understanding which teams deserve to be in and which don't? And that's where I think they miss. And I don't think anyone sits in that room and would have just said, guys, this is college basketball. Have we been watching it? Have you seen Texas A&M? Now go look at that resume. So anyway, I think the SEC, Mike, was a little disrespected for the year they had, and I think A&M, was the team that got victimized by that.
Is that a skill that can be taught, and how invaluable is that as you guys get ready for SEC play?
Well, I think anytime you can get a win, no matter how ugly or pretty it is, it's obviously good, especially given our roster situation, injuries, and all the stuff that's going on. So, we'll take it. And, I haven't coached a full season in the SEC yet, but looking from afar, any win is a good win. So they're so hard to get, and we'll take it. So that was definitely a good weekend for us. I certainly would have liked to spread the games over 3 days instead of a doubleheader. Gives our pitching a better chance to be successful, I think. But we'll take it.
2-out hitting was a bright spot for you guys on Sunday. Logan Britt broke the game open with his double in the 7th, and Dylan Rock came in with a double right after that. How much of an emphasis do you guys put on 2-out hitting, and how important is that to winning some of these tight games that you guys have been in?
Well, the game's about pitching, defense, and timely hitting. So 2-out hitting is certainly, that's what changes games. When you're on defense, you want to finish the inning and not allow them to score with 2 outs, and the opposite when you're on offense. And yeah, it's something. It's around in our batting practice every single day. It's not something that can really be practiced. It's more about just understanding that you're trying to put together a good at bat and get a good pitch to hit and put a good swing on it. So, I think that's the key. And again, that's something that's going to come and go. But it's more just about being consistent with your at bats, regardless of the out or the situation, and knowing that you're in charge and just get a good pitch to hit. That's really the essence of it all.
When you look at the blind resume test, which is one of everyone's favorite things to do this time of the year, and we did it on the show, A&M is a better blind resume than Notre Dame, a better blind resume, and a head-to-head win over Notre Dame. Which,
I was at that game.
Yeah,
I was at that game back in Vegas.
Which you would think if you're comparing ACC versus SEC, we have a real comparison on the court. They played each other.
Right.
It's a flawed system. I want to see more transparency. I want the committee to tell us X team did not make it because this specifically, and Y team made it because this. Right. You think we'll ever get to a point where that does happen? I
think that's got to be part of our analysis back, our pushback, if you will, whether it's SEC, whether it's us, to say, okay, the 12 people in the room, it's a blind vote in the room. but then have some data, have some metrics. Say, hey, look, this is what. Just tell us, And so that's the frustrating part about it. And I think the timing. You've seen a lot of national conversation around. It's a rushed process, if you will, on Sunday. So let's look into that. Does it need to be a rushed process? The committee starts gathering last week, and they start putting votes in early for the top. You have 36 at large, 32 are picked. They're AQs, so it's really 36 teams. But if you ask any basketball expert, if you said, okay, watch the A&M basketball team the last 10 games, no one can say that we're not one of the best 36. And so that's the part. Yeah, give us some data, give us some metrics, and there needs to be transparency around it.
We can't change the fact that the Aggies won't be playing in the Big Dance, but we do know they're hosting an NIT game tomorrow night. Alcorn State's coming, so they still have a chance to play for a championship. And as Buzz Williams continues to build this program, it is the next stepping stone for them as they continue to build. So I'm curious first, what is the process that goes into figuring out, can you host an NIT site, and how ready are you guys for this kind of quick turnaround? Yeah,
you get notified sometime in the month of February whether you want to put a bid in to host an NIT game. And, of course, we always want to play in postseason games, and especially as we're building the program on the basketball side. So we submitted that bid back in February, hoping you're in the Big Dance. I mean, that's always the goal, and that's the expectation. But for this team, as we're building it, to have postseason reps, I'm sure Coach will talk about that piece of it. And so that's where we need to support our guys. Mm-hmm. And so things are being developed as we speak. So I was just on the phone with Justin Moore. Tomorrow night's game at Reed Arena, because we saw the crowd when the team got back to the Cox McFerrin Center. I mean,
shout out to the 12th man.
Unbelievable.
They showed out in full force.
Let's bottle that. So we're going to make tomorrow night's game free. So this is kind of breaking news here on TexAgs.
Dog, do we have a breaking news alert you can play?
Yeah, the game. Yeah, you can play it. Okay. The game tomorrow night will be free.
Awesome.
And we're putting together all the details to send out to season ticket holders in terms of how they activate their tickets and what that means for students. But we're going to make tomorrow night's game free. Can't do that for it because we really should be hosting 3 NIT games.
That's the goal.
Can't do that for every game, but it's spring break. Let's reward these players. Let's reward our fans to show their appreciation. Our players deserve to be celebrated tomorrow night. Hey, families, if you're in town, students, if you're in town, get to Reed Arena. We're going to make it free to everyone. Like I said, can't do that for every game, but at least for this game during spring break, let's just pack it out and let's just celebrate these guys and make it loud. And I mean, that's what Aggies do. I mean, think about that Kentucky game and several other games this year. Let's have a packed house, tomorrow night. So that's what we're going to focus on, is really just supporting our players and our coaches.
It's not Kentucky, but let's make it as close to Kentucky as possible.
Let's do it.
It's postseason basketball.
Absolutely.
Championship.
Let's have everyone tune in around the country tomorrow night and say, hey, what did those Aggies do? Oh, look what they did. They supported their players. They supported the program. And to your point about making a run now, that sets the stage for the future. How many teams make a run in the NIT and then next year, oh, guess what? They're in the Sweet 16. Guess what? They're a top 4 seed or whatever. So let's do that. Let's set the stage and let's have a big crowd tomorrow night.
For the record, thanks for watching, guys. You know what to do now. You have to like the video. You have to comment on the video, leave a 5-star review, tell them I need a raise, and subscribe. All those things. This is TexAgs Rewind. I'm Mike Lucas.